Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Nightcap, where I go over a couple of the big stories from this week in the game industry, play a casual game, once again SimCity, and have a nightcap, which for my nightcap this evening, I was watching an episode of Farlands or Bust with Kurt J. Mack, and he was talking about Scotch. So I realized I hadn't had any in a while and went out and bought myself a bottle of Johnny Walker Black. Very good Scotch. If you are interested in Scotch, I would definitely recommend it. As for the news this week, we have a few interesting things. The first one, which it's going to be a bit different for me because it is a news bit that I wanted to talk about, but also a bit of a comment about another YouTuber, a favorite YouTuber of mine, Rich of Review Tech. I've been a fan of his for quite a while, and unfortunately, I gotta disagree with him on what he said about this particular issue. Now, the issue at hand is that the Office of Fair Trading over in the UK is investigating free-to-play games for their in-app purchases that may be misleading or predatory, especially towards children. Which, you know what, I can understand the investigation. It is something that I certainly think should happen. There are a lot of free-to-play games out there, especially in the mobile marketplace, that are just, oh god, they're just awful. I don't understand how they can actually be legal business practices in many ways. So I agree with what the Office of Fair Trading is doing. It is always a good idea to protect the consumer, and unfortunately that is something that is often overlooked by businesses these days. And so that's not exactly off-putting or anything along those lines. I quite agree with it. But what I disagree is the analysis of this event by Rich of Review Tech. Now, his video alone was, I think, a little bit misleading about the article at hand, where he basically says that free-to-play to become illegal, which isn't the case. I know it was a question mark, but still, not the case. The article in question and the investigation in question is just looking at if what they are doing is against existing consumer protection laws, and that if they are, steps will be taken to basically make these companies own up to what they did and pay for being misleading. So they aren't going to be making anything illegal, even if they do decide that, yes, these companies in our investigation were being misleading, were having predatory business practices. They aren't going to make the free-to-play gaming illegal. That just simply isn't going to happen. This isn't even within the purview of this investigation. At the most, they would be seeking regulations on the industry. I mean, there is actually a quote from the OFT saying that they are not seeking a ban of in-game purchases, but that the game industry must ensure it is complying with the relevant regulations. Basically saying this for the protection of children. So they're not going to become illegal. And even if the OFT was looking to make it illegal, they would have one hell of a fight on their hands, with millions of dollars spread between dozens of very, very large companies who have basically pitted much of their own futures within this industry. Now, do I think that is a good thing? Not necessarily, but nonetheless, free-to-play gaming isn't going to become illegal anytime soon. And I would like to kind of comment on some of the things said in the Review Tech video, and that basically Rich is saying that he wishes that free-to-play basically would just die, and that he thinks that it is a horrible, horrible practice that essentially has no place in his mind, which I have to disagree with. And honestly, I think that saying that whole segment of an industry should just go and die is a little bit short-sighted. And honestly, I don't think good for the industry in general. I mean, a big part of a successful industry is making sure that you have a broad base of methods of making money, because they are, of course, businesses. But also that you do try different things, innovate, and so forth. That wonderful word that we all do tend to hate, that when game companies say when they just claim something for innovation, but the fact remains that it is here. It is a different model of business, and honestly one that has its place. Now, Rich says that he would prefer that he just bought his game for $60 and have the game, be done with it, which I can agree with that. Personally, that's what I do as well. But you have a lot of people out there who love to play games but can't really afford to be purchasing $60 games. And they rely on free-to-play games to basically feed their urge. It is a valid business practice. You have a lot of people who don't have the money or just don't want to. Like I do like free-to-play MMOs because I just can't stand paying a monthly subscription fee. And the comments that, oh, well, all free-to-play games are horrible and that they should just die just doesn't make sense to me. Yes, I will completely agree that most free-to-play games are pretty bad. They are just shameless shillings for money. They are awful. I cannot refute that, especially in the mobile marketplace. But when it comes to PC free-to-play games, yes, again, is the case for a lot of things, but not everything. You have a lot of free-to-play games that are done well, and a few that, in my opinion at the least, are done right. You have games like Terra Online, Team Fortress 2, League of Legends, PlanetSide 2, and though I don't have a full opinion on it yet, Dust 514, I haven't played a whole lot of it yet, so I don't want to throw it all the way into the ring. But from what I've seen of it so far, the free-to-play model for it works. And there is a big reason why. And why I personally think that those games are how free-to-play should be, and why those type of games aren't going to go away for a while is because they aren't pay to win. I know there is still a lot of people who argue back and forth on that issue within those games, but the fact of the matter is, in at least most of them, you don't have to pay to get the various different weapons or whatever it is that you like. You can earn them in-game from playing, or from trading, or from some form of in-game currency or experience. Something along those lines that basically levels the playing field, so that if you do want to play it purely for free, you can. It'll take you a little longer, granted, but you can still play it for free. And that works. And unfortunately, the only big-name free-to-play game that Rich mentioned on his as one of the reasons why he didn't like it was Real Racing 3 by EA, which, first off, of course they're not going to do free-to-play, right? It's EA. I personally played Need for Speed Online and Battlefield Play for Free, both of which were run by EA, and I quit on them because they were awful, because they didn't live up to that fact of the other games I mentioned earlier, because they had things that were completely locked out that you had to pay for to get, and they were, a lot of times, the very best of things that you wanted in the game. And so yes, those are awful, but there are so many good free-to-play models out there, especially the League of Legends, PlanetSide 2, Team Fortress 2. These are good examples, and things that the free-to-play market should be striving for. Are most free-to-play games like that? No, they are awful, and I do agree, those ones in particular should go away. But to say that the free-to-play market in its entirety should, again, I think is short-sighted and doesn't look at the big picture. And we need a more diverse gaming industry, a more diverse gaming marketplace as consumers. We need that. As I said, for a lot of people, those $60 games are just too much. And even for those of us who can afford it, sometimes we just like only throwing a couple of bucks at a game. But again, yes, there are many that don't work, and that should go away. Now, do I think that, like the developers of Crysis, that free-to-play is the future? Oh dear God, no. But it does have its place in the industry. And it will remain for quite a while. Will it last forever? I don't want to say no, but I don't want to say yes. It may not. We'll see how the industry shakes out. Again, it's a consumer market, at least it's supposed to be. And we, as the consumers, will be the ultimate deciders of that. And that's going to be my last word on that particular issue. And in regards to the developers of Crysis, on my next topic, and actually I think another review tech video, but this one I do completely agree with Rich on, where basically the Crytek CEO says that graphics are 60% of the game. I'm sorry, but if that is what you truly believe, you are doing it wrong. Yes, graphics are important, but far more important is gameplay. That is the most important thing. It is a game. You need to have good gameplay. You cannot rely on just graphics alone. Now, graphic style, I will agree with. You could have a really, really beautiful looking game, but it is absolutely, utterly horrible. And just as equally, you could have a really, really great game that looks absolutely horrible. A graphic style is very important, and in my opinion, kind of more important than either, because if you do have a good game, but that looks awful, you are going to drive a fair amount of people away. But if you have a beautiful looking game and it plays awful, you're equally going to be driving people away. You need a good balance of the two, in my opinion. But not necessarily graphics, but graphic style. I mean, look at Minecraft. It's not that great of graphics, but it has, well, and honestly, it's not that great of gameplay. I personally love it. I have my Minecraft series. But it's definitely not the best of games. It's definitely not the best looking of games. But in my opinion, a combination of its art style, it works. And of the game mechanics it has, it works. And of course, the wonderful modding community. You can't deny that that is a huge part of its success. But yes, to say that 60% of a game is graphics is just, it's just stupid. And unfortunately, it's something that a lot more developers seem to think. You get a lot of people saying that, oh, well, we can't truly show emotion in games because the graphics aren't up to par. I'm sorry, but you know what? No. That's just not true. You just can't make a good game. The recent Walking Dead game from the point and click, not the first person shooter, was not that. It was a good looking game. Graphically, it wasn't that great though. It had a good art style, but it wasn't amazing looking. It wasn't CryEngine graphic levels of beauty. But it was moving. It was emotional. Journey, even less graphically beautiful. Well, but again, the art style made it look beautiful, and it was emotional. And you have so many other variations of this, and so many other examples of people who know how to make games and do it right, showing you that you can get emotion without having, you know, a million polygons in the face alone so you can see every minutia of detail. And no. If you make your game well, you connect the characters with your players, and give a compelling story, then we will see that emotion. We will feel what you wanted out of the game. But just to say that, oh, it's the graphics holding it back, and that's what makes a game. No, you just can't make games, and you are what I personally refer to as the Michael Bay syndrome. You just want to make things look pretty and hope that people keep watching, which unfortunately does work for a lot of people. Oh, that saddens me. But yes, that's just an awful, awful thing to say, and that mentality needs to leave the industry, because we just need good games with good stories, not just purely beautiful games. And the final thing I want to talk about, and something that, honestly, I'm not entirely sure of my opinion on, Notch being voted by the people as Time's second most influential person in the world. I honestly don't entirely know what to say to that. Now, this is a vote from the people. The Time editor's official list will be revealed on the 18th. But generally it doesn't change too much from the voting. We will see, though. I'm kind of wondering what Time is going to do about this. I mean, you have a guy who made Minecraft beating out Barack Obama. It seems a little interesting, and I don't know. I mean, he has done a lot for the indie market. He has made a wonderful game that has sold millions upon millions of copies, and a game that's been very compelling. It has been used for educational purposes. The UN has used it for various projects. It's been used as an art medium. Just a fun game, and of course a huge amount of money has been made by YouTubers on the subject of Minecraft. And as I said, he's done a lot for the industry. Opened a game company, started trying to make other games, helping support other indie developers. But second most influential person, beating out Barack Obama by 10 spaces. I believe Obama was at 12 and Notch at 2. I don't know. I mean, it is interesting, and if they do leave the list as is from the voting, I think it'll be amusing hearing the larger news outlets talk about Notch and have to explain what it is to their audience, who generally doesn't seem to understand the video game world. That alone might be worth it. But to say that Notch is the second most influential person of the year, I just don't know if I can agree with it. He is a good man. He's done a lot of great things. But to say that he is above so many other large figures, including, well, let's just look at some of the people on the list here, if I can bring it up. Of course, as I said, Barack Obama, Kim Jong-un, Kim.com, who actually apparently Kim.com has said on his Twitter that the people voting for him should vote for Notch, which I found interesting. He is beating out Psy by quite a few votes. And there's so many other figures, and it's a bit confusing in my mind. He is a good man. He's done a lot of great things, but second most influential person of the year, I don't know if I can agree with. But it will be interesting, nonetheless, to see once the final list comes out on the 18th. And I'm hoping, well, he does stay in that position, because as I said, it'll be kind of funny watching the traditional news media try and explain who he is. I look forward to Fox doing some sort of a piece on him, or trying to explain it. It will probably amuse me. But yes, that is me for this evening. I do hope you all have enjoyed this episode, and that you come back for the next. And have a good one.